Welcome to UK Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, UK Ketchadori.
Hi guys, welcome back to another very special episode, and with me today is Elaine Slatter. Now, Elaine is very special to me. I'll tell you why, because as you know, many of you, that I've been doing podcasting for a very long time. I spoke with Elaine actually a few weeks ago, probably a few months ago now, and Elaine asked me a question: how are you monetizing your project? I explained what I was doing, but Elaine helped me create another income stream from podcasting. Now, I will answer how I'm doing that in the community or in the chats. So if you want to know more about that, how we are monetizing using Elaine's strategy, go into our community and I'll be able to share that with you. Now, again, before we start talking about today's subject, somebody was asking me what book am I reading right now, and this is the book I'm reading. It's John Maxwell's Leadership, the 360 Leadership. It's really good, and one of the things I love about this book is how you, perhaps, as a business owner, can lead without, sort of forcing your way, but, in a way that makes other people just want to follow you. So I highly recommend it. I'm not an affiliate. Maybe I should be, but it is helping me a lot. So go get the book and it will do you more good. Elaine, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, UK.
And once again, publicly, thank you for showing me how I can monetize my podcast. You are such a blessing. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yes. Now, today we want to be talking about branding, all things branding. And specifically, if you want to start all over again, today's discussion is all about doing it right, however long it takes, but doing it in a way that is going to somewhat guarantee success for you. But why Elaine? Elaine, talk to us about your background, so those who are listening to you for the first time knows why you're qualified to explain this whole concept of branding.
Well, thank you, UK. I was born in the UK, in the lovely town of Bournemouth on the south coast, and then escaped, and now I live in Canada. And for a long time, I had a corporate career working for a U.S. multinational corporation. And after I did some schooling got my degree at university and then got a marketing specialty, I found working for a U.S. corporation in all aspects of marketing was a wonderful background to segue into having my own consulting business, doing marketing for small to medium-sized businesses. So when you work for a large corp, you get to see so many sides of branding, of all the different products that we had to launch. And you see the very, very good successes, and then you see the ones that aren't so successful. And then you have a big takeaway from the ones that aren't successful, just as much as you do from the products that are very successfully branded. So that's my background, I would say. And in the consulting area, it's the same thing. I help a lot of small business people get started. They have a great idea, but perhaps they don't know how to brand their idea, how to get launched online, how that branding can represent who they want to be in the marketplace. So it's quite exciting. I love it.
Yes. And one of the things I love about you is you're consistent. because we've been in the same field for the last 30 years and really learning this ins and outs, the small things that can help business owners in positioning themselves as the go-to experts in their field. And we're excited to have you on the show today. So first of all, what is branding from your perspective?
Well, a lot of people misunderstand branding. They think it's just your logo, but your logo is just the very beginning, the starting point. And I always recommend that you don't spend tons of money on your logo. For example, Nike spent something like $30 US on that swoosh that is world famous, and has been for, probably 40, 50 years. So if their little swoosh can cost $30, you shouldn't be spending thousands of dollars on a logo, because a logo is just the starting point of your brand. I think for branding, you have to understand who you are, what your purpose is, in the community, who you're trying to serve. A lot of people think, oh, well, I sell to everybody. Well, yes, you might sell to a lot of different kinds of people, but when you're starting out, you need to have a really good idea to hone it down into who you're really serving. Because once you narrow it down, then you can align your purpose of what you want to do, what your product is or what your service is, to that audience. And that is the beginning of your branding. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't really know how to brand. Well, the thing is, you have your purpose, you have your audience, you start there. And then if you find that your audience changes or your purpose changes, then you pivot. And you pivot your brand gradually into a different direction. And that's what the big brands do. Like Coca-Cola started out with, a high sugar content drink, but their branding has morphed into way more than that. And if you look at all the different products that Coca-Cola own, just cola is only one of many kinds of products. And then they take each product and develop a brand for that product, an audience for it, the way they talk about the product, the way it looks in the packaging. So that's all to do with branding. So it might be branding yourself if you are a consultant, or it can be branding different products. And then you have to determine what your company is going to look like. And one of the ones I recommend to look at is a U.S. company called Parker Hannifin. So Hannifin is spelled Hannefin. And they have a wonderful video on YouTube that I highly recommend everybody looks at, because it really is the core to branding. And they don't talk about their products, actually. They talk about their purpose. Because Parker Hannifin is a large multinational conglomerate, and they sell all kinds of different engineered products. They have healthcare products like ventilators. They sell to, they have an arm that sells to the aircraft industry, and just about every industrial use uses Parker Hannifin parts somewhere or other. And in that video, they explain their purpose, which is really how they have engineering breakthroughs, working with their clients on engineering breakthroughs to help a problem that their clients have. And they explain it really well in the video. And I recommend that that's what everybody should think about when they're thinking about branding. It's not necessarily the products itself, it's how you are helping solve a problem of your client with your solution. So that's the core of branding.
Yeah,
and so I think in this time of COVID, where a lot of people are coming up with brand new ideas, or perhaps they've had to pivot from away from what they normally do, and perhaps they're just thinking of starting their own business, then how you determine your branding is to figure out what kind of service or product you are selling and who it helps, and define your brand around that. Going back into the sports field, talking about Nike again, or Under Armour, or Adidas, or Fila, any of those sporting brands, they all have a different take on what their purpose is. And I think this is something that everybody needs to think about, because you are going to have competitors no matter what you're doing. And if you don't have a competitor, that's not a good thing. That means that there's something wrong with your idea.
There is no market for it.
There's no market for it if you say, I have no competition. But an interesting thing to do is to take a look at your competition and see what they're doing, not to dwell on it, but to see why are you different, or how are you different from your competition. And from there, you can find your own little nugget of how to start your branding, because you know your audience, you know your product. So what kind of nuance do you have, or what kind of flip do you have to create your own channel? And then once you've found your purpose and your audience and what makes you different than your competition, that could be the core of your branding. And then you develop that in all your materials. You need to be consistent in that. The look, the feel, are you bright and peppy? Are you serious? Like, what is your mood? And all that ties in together to start your branding journey, because it is a true journey. We step the clients through that whole journey, the journey of you, and then the journey of your market, or your prospective market, and then we marry that together. And so we find out what's unique and different about you and then serve that up to your marketplace, so that you're not a vanilla cookie cutter.
Yes.
So, and then that comes through everything that you do in your launch.
Yes. I'm glad that you mentioned that it is a journey, because it was for me. I remember when we started our outsourcing services, I wasn't sure who I wanted to serve, really.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of went to get everybody, and then I discovered that some of my customers were a pain. In fact, if I had not gotten a coach, this is honest truth, I would probably have given up that part of my business. But having a business coach enabled me to really narrow down who I wanted to serve, and then create a brand image that attracted the ideal customer that, I was happy to help, and they were happy to receive my service. So it was a win-win situation, including my team. So, you start somewhere, but expect to change as you go, based on the feedback that you receive.
Yeah, that certainly was the case for me. Well, in my corporate world, I was in a male-dominated industry, the welding industry.
Yeah.
And I thought when I went out as a consultant that I would have that type of industrial client, right? Because that was what I knew. And it turned out that wasn't the case at all. That I kept getting, although I worked mostly with men in my corporate career, when I started consulting, most of my clients were women. And I was totally flabbergasted that would be the case. So once I realized that it was my target audience were going to be women, then I had to learn about what women needed. And it was totally different than what men needed. So then I had to adjust my thinking for sure, and my branding to attract more women. Because once you determine, as I'm sure you know, who your market is and and you serve that market, then you are recognized as an expert serving that market. So then you get more like customers, right?
Totally.
And then you get recommended by those customers, and therefore you get more and more and more of the same kind of customers. So the market actually is directed to you once you start establish and get recommended. It just comes to you a lot by referrals, right? And then once you know that, then I realized I was getting so many questions about starting a business. And having been the CEO in Canada, I knew from like the cradle to grave what that was like, because in the corporate world you get all this strategic planning, 5-year planning, 1-year planning, accountability, all those things, and all the different teams having to work together to be a successful company. You have to have great teams and integration and all that. And that's the same whether you're a solopreneur or a multi-million corporation. The whole process of business is still the same. Mm-hmm. You still need to be accountable. You still need to look at your results. You still have to watch everything that you're doing, the manufacturing process, if it's that, or your services if you're a consultant. And you have to look at your marketing, you have to look at your sales. It's all one great big package, whether you're doing it all yourself because you're a solopreneur, or if you have a team behind you. You're still the director of the team if you have a team.
Yes.
And so you have to know what's going on from everybody on your team.
Yeah.
And the accountability and so on and so forth. So I was getting tons of questions about startups. So that's why, and from women. So that's why I wrote a book, especially for women, on startups, because that was all a result of the questions I was being asked and the target market, which became my brand. My brand is helping women startups. Yeah. That's what I'm known for, right? But
right.
It didn't
amazing. Yes.
happen out of the gate, like you said. It was a progression from that first year as a consultant, seeing, where I was helping most of the people. And it turned out that it was female startups. Yeah. So then I can build the brand from the female startup by writing the book, by having consulting services to help them market themselves, by having a podcast that is advice for women entrepreneurs, and a Facebook community, and writing for all the different women's organizations, and also pairing up with other organizations to provide my complementary services to their services. So that's how the brand developed.
Yes. And, and one of the things I've discovered is brand can pivot. Products can struggle to do that. Like in a given situation we are facing right now, if somebody focuses on building a brand that really serve a purpose, can take any direction that you need to, and people will still follow you.
Yeah, because then you become the identity. The brand becomes the identity, and you can add and take away products from that identity.
Yes.
As the market pivots, like in COVID, for example, say you were branded as, or for example, here we have a mompreneur network, for example, and their big branding was in live events. Well, of course, during COVID, the mompreneurs still need events, and they need that support. So they haven't changed their brand. They've just taken live to online, and then you can have webinars, you can have podcasts, you can have summits, you can have all kinds of different things, and add and take away items to it.
Yes. So let's talk about somebody who is reinventing themselves, or maybe they want to bring something new. they are clear on their purpose, they are clear on who they want to serve, and they're also clear on the message they want to put across. What should they be focusing now that they've got those things or building blocks in place?
Okay, so I think the first building block is to make sure that online presence reflects the base that they've decided on. If they know their purpose, they know their market, then their online presence, their website, whether they're doing YouTube videos or podcasts, whatever they've got within their brand has to reflect that. It has to have that continuity so that it's recognizable. So many people start to go right and start to go left, and it doesn't reflect the core of their brand. They've gone off with something completely different, a completely different look or feel. And for example, your branding, it's very, very consistent, whether you're doing an online summit. I'm sure if you're doing live events or your podcasts, you're very recognizable as a brand. And that's the right way to do it, is to be consistent. The look that you're trying to achieve, the colors, for example, you want to keep everything as consistent as possible. Mm-hmm. So your online presence is really like your online brochure. So your social media has to be on point too. So once you know what your brand is, you can pepper in different things. Like, you don't have to be serious all the time if you have like a serious brand, but that's got to be the core of what you are. You can't suddenly do something totally out of context all the time, because it confuses people and then they don't know what your brand is all about. So that's why we say you should have consistency in the branding.
Absolutely.
So that's number one, is getting your online presence to reflect everything that you're doing in your branding. And so your social media has to reflect your website, has to reflect your total branding.
Yeah. And I would add to that, maybe you're getting started. It can seem overwhelming to have all that in one go. But as long as you're making steps towards making that a reality, you will get there. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. You take, you take steps towards that. You keep moving forward. So which is good. And one of the things that has helped me, Elaine probably can attest to this, is being authentic in being true to what you're trying to achieve. Gone are the days where you would represent something and you'd be totally different, because people see through that, don't they?
Yes, they totally do see through that. Like, if you're a comedian, you're a comedian, right?
Yes.
And if you're a politician, you're a politician. So the politicians can't really be the comedian, and the comedian can't really be a politician. You can have elements of that, but you have to be true to who you really are. And you're right, your authenticity will shine through. And if you're fake, you won't last, right?
No.
Because people will see through the fake part of you, because you have to live and breathe your brand. Like, everywhere you show up, you have to be that person, So you got to figure that out at the beginning. You can segue this way and that way, but you still have to have that core of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you do, get started, begin to build that, that brand right now. You'll be amazed with the passing of time that at the end of it, maybe a year or two, you've got a solid, you're very clear on what you want to achieve, who you want to serve, and how you want to serve them. And it's a good feeling, because you feel like you are now living on purpose. Let's help individuals, perhaps, who have, were clear in the beginning, but somewhere along the journey, they lost it altogether. How can they come back to a place where they rebuild their brand?
Well, if they've probably lost their purpose. You know what I mean? Maybe they're stale. Maybe they need to go in a different direction, or maybe they need to target a different kind of audience to reinvent themselves, because if you're not feeling it and if you're not authentic, then you're not doing the right thing.
No.
You need to really step back and think, well, if I'm not being fulfilled, what's the point in doing this? What do I actually love doing? And if it's not what you're doing, perhaps that's why you're not successful. So you have to really take a good hard look at yourself and say, do I really love doing this? Like you said, like I worked today and it didn't feel like work. So if you still feel that way, that it doesn't really feel like work, then you're probably okay. Maybe you just need a different kind of audience to. But if you feel like it's drudgery, like you just dread getting up and working every day, then that's the time to really evaluate what you're doing. And maybe that's not for you. Maybe somebody talked you into it and it's not really authentic you. And let's face it, like 80% of businesses fail. So don't look at it as oh, I'm the only one. I must push through it. I hate what I'm doing, but I must push through it. No, you don't. You can start over and do it differently, or do something differently, or pivot into a different direction. There's always a different way you can go. You're not locked into something forever. Like companies morph and change constantly. Even in big corporations, they might be doing one thing now, and 5 years from now, they completely change direction. And it could be for n number of reasons. So you're not locked into anything. You just have to think. You have to be just totally honest with yourself, and then take a look at your skill set.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you will find that you'll have to excuse me here. I think I have a little bit of an issue here with my battery of my computer.
That's okay. One of the things I've discovered why you saw that, Elaine, is failure is not the end of all. So maybe you are a business owner, you thought you've ruined your branding, you can start all over again. And I've discovered that people forget and forgive, and when you fail, really, you can start all over again. So if you want to rebuild your brand, go ahead, pivot, start redoing, doing something else, and you'll be amazed at the result that come back to you. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Things happen in the world, and my computer became unplugged.
That's again, what I've discovered in business is you've got to be prepared that anything can happen at any time, but you just have to keep going like we are doing right now.
Yeah, totally. Just keep going. And I think sometimes if you're stuck in your branding or stuck in your business, it's a good idea to seek out somebody who can help you over that part of where you're stuck. Because if you don't, you're just going to repeat the same things over and over and over. And sometimes it's really good to get somebody to give you an objective opinion, somebody who doesn't know you very well, not your best friend, because your best friend is going to say, oh, keep on going, you're doing great, when in the heart of you, you're not doing great. So sometimes you need an accountability partner. And there's lots of organizations that have mentorship or accountability. And, somebody that you can honestly give your problem, serve your problem up, and have objective people take a look at it, listen to you. But you have to be totally honest too, so that it's a two-way street, that if you're honest, then you're going to get honest feedback. And look at it as feedback, not failure, but feedback. Because if you have feedback and you internalize that and really step back and think about the feedback that you're getting, you will probably make the right decision if you're listening and you're open. And don't rush into something. Just take your time to think about what people have said, the honest feedback that you're getting, and you'll see your business from a totally different perspective.
Absolutely the truth. Elaine, we're coming toward the end of our time together, and I know there will be people who want assistance with their branding, maybe is it done for you, or just to learn more about it. Where can they find you?
Well, they can find me online at XL, the letter X, the letter L, consultinggroup.com. And from there, they can connect through my webpage, the Connect page. And I always get back to people within 24 hours. Or you can find me at Elaine Slatter on LinkedIn. Or you can find me at Fabulous Fempreneurship, which is a Facebook community for women entrepreneurs, or on Twitter at XL Consulting Grow. So lots of ways.
Amazing, yes. Well, there you have it, guys. I encourage you to get in touch with Elaine. Elaine, you have personally been a blessing to me financially, And again, guys, here's what I've discovered. It's in talking to other people in the industry that opens up doors, that you didn't even realize were there. So I encourage you to get in touch with Elaine, or even in the community that we are building up for you, so that you are not alone on this journey of maybe recreating lost businesses or creating new businesses. Whatever your goal is, be in the community. So once again, thank you, Elaine, for being on the show. And I certainly would love to have you come back again, maybe on our next summit, the one we have in January. Come talk to us about your journey as an entrepreneur, some of the successes that you've had, maybe some of the blueprint you've managed to create over a period of time.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun, you, Kai, being on your show, and I love connecting people together, and that's my passion, is connecting people. So I'm happy to do so, and I'd love to be in your new summit.
Awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. There you have it, guys. I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to see you in the summit, or hear from you about what you want us to talk about, or any books you want me to recommend about. And yes, have a great day, and all the best to you. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for listening to UK Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.ukbusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18, or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.